forward and back. And so your first movement pattern that you want to make sure that you cover within your exercises is a horizontal push. And what that movement is this movement right here. So movements or exercises that would cover that movement would be push-ups, chest press machine, things like that. On the other side, the pulling movement, the antagonistic movement of that would be the pulling movement. So you're pulling something into your body, and that's typically considered a row. So exercises for that would be like bent over rows or a row machine, exercises that you're pulling into your rib cage. The third movement pattern for your upper body is going to be a vertical push. So from here, you're pressing up, and that would be shoulder presses. You could do that with dumbbells, you can do it with a barbell, you could also do it with a machine if that's available to you. And then the fourth upper body movement would be a vertical pull. So where you're pulling down from above. Now this exercise is really difficult to do without any equipment. So ways that you could do that is by doing pull downs. You could also do pull ups. Those are really tough. But then you also could do pull downs with a band, or if you have access to that equipment. So moving on to your lower body, there are really two different movements there. There is a lower body push and a lower body pull, but we generally tend to think about them as the squat movement and the hinge movement. So your squat movement, what you're doing is you're bending both your hip joint as well as your knee joint. So clearly squats would fulfill that movement, but also lunges are going to do that, as well as any step up movements. Yeah, and so anytime that you're moving both your hip and your knee, you're generally doing that squat movement. Now, the sixth movement is the lower body pull, and what that's actually called is a hinging movement. And for new exercisers, this is usually the most difficult to do. It's kind of a strange movement, because what you're doing is you're hinging at the hip. So you're just pushing your hips back and moving into a hinging movement. And when you do that, you're going to notice that your hamstrings get really stretched. It's a fantastic movement for working your glutes as well as your hamstrings. So no matter how you do those, put your strength training together, whether you do full body workouts or whether you like to do 3-day splits where you're working your chest one day, your back one day, and your legs a third, or what I tend to do is I tend to do push-pull splits. So I do all of my pushing movements, so my horizontal push, my vertical push, and my squat variations on one day, and then I do all of my pulling movements, my rows, pull downs, as well as hinging movements on a second day. And what happens then is I make sure that I cover all of those movements. So that's your fit tip for today. I hope you enjoyed it. Again, I'm Elizabeth Sherman from Total Health by Elizabeth. Bye, guys.